I know, I'm pretty sure there were like 2 mushrooms growing there. And these are like, we're talking kind of like, you pick that up and you put that in your mouth, you're growing like another size, bro.
I had fleas in my room at the beginning of the year.
But we do have lower expectations. Maybe we deserve them because we treat them like this.
Students have had a bum deal recently. They had to go to uni on Zoom, they're accused of being woke all the time, and now they can barely pay their rent. Research suggests that after they pay their rent, students are left with just 50 pence of their maintenance loan a week to live on. And that means there's barely enough for weed or OnlyFans. Since 2019, the number of students has gone up by around 400,000. And in the same time period, the number of student properties has gone down by 19,000. And in the past 2 years, student rents have gone up by 15%. So if there are more students with less cash and fewer properties, but they cost more, they're a bit screwed, aren't they? The situation is so bad that 64% of students say they've struggled with paying the rent at least some of the time. Now, I'm going to shock you. Some enterprising landlords are trying to make a bit of cash on this. Student property is a pretty attractive investment for landlords. And you'd be hard pressed to find somewhere better to own student property than in Leeds. Believe it or not, students are people too. They're not just cash machines that become sentient and complain about things like mould or rats dying in their toilets. For many students, the cost of housing is becoming such a burden that many are dropping out, or even avoiding university altogether. I want to see what the students are actually paying for. I mean, if all their money is going towards it, it should probably be quite nice.
I had fleas in my room at the beginning of the year.
Oh my god.
The day that I moved in, like I like went to sleep and was like, oh, I feel weird. Woke up in the morning and this flea jumped at me. And so yeah, that was horrible.
Well, we know because the kid who lived there, the kid who had that room last year had a rat, a pet rat.
For God's sake.
And then what's going on in the cupboard behind you?
That's just the bucket, and that's for when the boiler leaks.
The first week I moved in, some guy came round to like assess it and was like, no, it's not mouldy, and like rubbed the wall and sprayed this thing, like an anti-mould spray or something, and then it caused the plug socket to like spark up, and it just like turned off all the power in the house. And then they just wrote a "do not use" on the plug socket. So I was like, well, that's great, isn't it?
It was clear when we had our move-in day, our official move-in day, that neither the property management company or the landlord had actually checked out the building. So it was not quite maybe as bad as it is now, but there were different issues. There were sort of the previous tenants had just sort of left, I don't know, shoes, just general junk all around the house. The bathrooms were in a pretty poor state. There were sort of toilet lids off, mould growing in the showers, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty obvious that no one had checked out that it was habitable by the time we did move in.
Our whole bathroom ceiling was just covered in black mold. But what they did was that the contractors came and they fixed the mold, but they had left our toilet in like a complete mess and blocked the toilet and everything.
That's crazy.
And like we were like, so can you guys come in and block it? And they just never came. So hands were used. But all of this, so essentially all of this, like there's water that runs through here every single time there's like terrible rain. And I think it's something to do with like the pipes being cracked or something, and this whole thing just gets full, and the toilet that gets drenched.
The toilet gets flooded as well. But I know, I'm pretty sure there were like 2 mushrooms growing there.
That's where the mushrooms
That's
are.
where like and these are like, we're talking kind of like, you pick that up and you put that in your mouth, you're growing like another size, bro. That's a Mario mushroom there.
It was mainly when I moved in, so they said they'd clean the house and it'd be all good when I moved in. And I came in alone on the first day and I was like, what is going on? The front garden was just full of loads of rubbish. There was like a full chair, like a mouldy chair. There was a full Chinese takeaway just laid out on the front garden. Bags of rubbish, full of like stagnant water. The fridge had rotting chicken in, which was really nice to clean up. And it just didn't feel like anyone really thought we'd care.
Our carbon monoxide alarm was out of date, and they said they blamed it on that. They were like, oh, it's just because it's out of date.
Oh, yeah.
You're fine. Came back in, like went off again. A gas man came, said it was fine, went off again, and then it wasn't. So that was all quite stressful. And
yeah, we were definitely gaslit as well.
Yeah,
excuse the pun, but like we definitely were.
Yeah.
They were literally like, oh, like you're just being like silly girls, and we were like, what, like.
Yeah, literally, we were like,
Not,
we were sat on the street, like, where do we go? Like,
yeah,
we're
we had to like
homeless.
go live in our friend's house
Yeah.
for the night because they were like,
Didn't
you
wanna
can't
come
stay
back
in
in
here,
there.
like the levels are too high.
And then we started having other issues with, so our boiler basically stopped working. So no heat, no hot water for a good week and a half, 2 weeks until that got sorted. But there have been positives. So in a real emergency, our landlord did respond quickly. So we had a burglary at one point, our front door was kicked in. And our landlord did respond quickly to that. We called him at about 7 a.m. when it happened. He was here by 10. And although he didn't provide us a new door, he just sort of fixed or sort of drilled the old one back into place. It was sort of a quick response. So yeah, we had mixed feelings about our experience here.
With student accommodations, what I found is unless it's like super duper dangerous, they're just not going to bother, and they're just kind of going to let you live in these scenarios. And it's not, you know, it's not like a threatening situation, but
it's literally fungus growing inside of your house, which is not very pleasant, especially for how much money you're paying.
Even the really nice student properties have serious issues, like the boiler breaks, etc. Why do you think students put up with things like that?
I think it's the status quo to an extent. I think living in student properties, you go in with an understanding that maybe they're not maintained to the same high degree that proper rental properties, quote unquote, are. Or I'm not really sure why that is, but we do have lower expectations. Maybe we deserve them because we treat them like this, and some of the issues may be caused by us. We're sort of young adults, we don't know how to care for a house maybe properly, so maybe some of the issues are somewhat our fault to an extent, but also there are some issues that really are completely out of our control and we just have to deal with. But I think it's sort of part of the culture in a way.
I just think landlords think they can take students for granted because we're young, like we're not going to do like that much in terms of like making them liable. And then I think also just like student living is also generally quite, like it's easy for them to blame stuff on students because they think you just don't take care of a house, like you're just here to like have fun and like kind of wreck the house. So they don't take them seriously enough, I think.
And just like a lack of choice. Like if we were to really
try,
like, we couldn't really get that. At the end of the day, we don't want to be kicked out of this house, and I guess it is sort of the ball is in their court. Also, like we're all first time renters.
With your maintenance loan, how much money do you have left after you pay rent?
None. I don't even have enough in the first place. I have enough for the rent on its own, not enough for bills. Lucky I'm in a good situation where my parents can pay my bills per month, but then I don't have any spare money. So I have to have a job to pay for food, or like even just to be able to save a little bit of money to do anything fun.
What job do you have?
I work in a bar, so nights.
So that's not terribly sociable hours for going to lectures, or?
No, it's not great. I'll often finish uni at 5 and then start work at 6 and then finish work on a weekday maybe at 3 or 4 and then later on a weekend. So it's not great, but I think you kind of just get used to it quickly,
Is this what you thought uni would be like?
Not really, no. I didn't think I'd have to work as much as I do. I also didn't think that everyone else would be in a similar position. Like everyone else I talked to is kind of like, oh, this wasn't what we were told. Just in terms of, everyone talks about students being skin bit in kind of a funny way, but it's not actually that fun to be like, oh, okay, I have £10 this week to spend on food if I want to do this one fun thing. And then everyone's like, you have to always sacrifice something basically, which I think a lot of adults would be like, yeah, of course, but it's like, it's quite basic. Socialising once a week is too expensive for most people, I'd say.
When you have this like image of like this uni life, of like people going out and like, there's the trend of like going to the races, and like we know people who spend like 200, 300, 400 pounds a day on the races, and it's like that's like
bro, that's my rent, bro.
that's a lot of money that we just we can't afford. And I feel like if you have a low maintenance loan, it does mean that maybe your parents are more financially stable, but at the same time that doesn't mean that your parents are going to support you. And I feel like at uni there's like a divide between people who can afford like all these like weirdly lavish things like the races and stuff, and then there's I guess people who are like not like super struggling, but there is like a struggle that comes with it. Like
for me, I'm quite lucky. My parents pay my rent, so it means that my maintenance loan is just for like living, which is fine. But I know quite a few people who don't have that, and it's like they basically have to have a job. If you have to pay your rent with your maintenance loan, like you have to get a job or you have to get some kind of help, because that's like not enough.
So if your parents weren't paying your rent, would you be struggling?
Yeah, I'd say so, definitely. Yeah.
I got really lucky because my parents are divorced, so for the past 3 years, lucky. I'll get there. So I've up until this point I've been able to be like single parent, so get the full loan and the bursary, and I think that'll change next year, which I'll have to deal with when I get there. But it has essentially put me in a position financially which is quite good.
The difference that I've noticed between when we came in first year and the cost of things now, obviously between that the cost of living crisis has like increased massively. So even like your food shop cost nearly like twice as much as it did when we were in first year and things like that. So yeah, it is supporting that, like going to the cinema and things like that, going to the pub a few more times, but actually some of that money is definitely just going on sort of necessities and things like a food shop and things like bills. It gives you just a bit more leeway to not have to worry about that sort of thing.
Do you think older people get the situation students are in at the moment?
Not really. I mean, part of me kind of gets it because students have always complained, like that's the whole trope, but it's in a completely different financial situation now. I think I complain because I'm doing a course that most courses doesn't actually have any real like boring job prospects, which is the case with I think pretty much every course now, even the ones that traditionally you were more secure in. I'm in a load of debt, which is new, last 15 years, whatever. I think I'm only in second year and I'm probably already in like £35,000 of debt, maybe, yeah, probably, yeah, around that, which is terrifying. Working, not even for anything that fun. I don't know, I don't think I don't actually know.
When you said sacrificing food to do something fun, what is the fun thing that you would do?
It depends. Sometimes it will be like go and watch a film or go and watch live music or maybe go eat somewhere. I think I'm not in a terrible situation. I'm like probably quite lucky, but it's still, you still have to make choices about what. I think I've always got that like kind of voice that is that adult voice being like, oh, it's not that bad, stop complaining. But it's like, oh, I don't know. So I feel guilty about then.
But then the things you said are nothing crazy.
Yeah, no, that's why I have to tell. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of a fairly basic thing, being able to like go for a couple drinks.
Yeah.
But it is just expensive.